Hey y'all, it's Amanda and this is my Texas Zone 8 garden. And today we're in the backyard and we're going to be working on a portion of this back garden. Typically in the past this has been more of a reseed itself kind of location, but I am going to be planting a lot of additional seedlings in here, including some perennials. Okay, so this bed faces south and it gets early morning sun and lots of hot sun in the afternoon. And this has typically been a garden where it reseeds itself over and over again. So I have a lot going on in it. Back here I have some Dutch iris. I do have some of the green dragon cress coming up. I have a lot of Dara coming up as well. And then I do have some things that I need to go ahead and remove. So let's start by removing those. Okay, so I have a hummingbird feeder right here that I'm going to go ahead and pull out for now. I also have this bare root rose from Walmart that has never greened up. So I'm pulling that out. And instead, I'm going to push back this additional rose right here. I don't recall which particular variety it is, but let me move this guy back here too, out of the way. Okay, so from about here on is all seeded stuff. From about here over, I have landscape fabric down. Let's see, all the way to about right around here, right around this level right here. And the reason being is I originally had a bunch of amaranth back here and it reseeds itself like crazy. So I put down the weed barrier in order to keep that amaranth from coming up. And this area has mostly perennials back here. It's got heirloom chrysanthemums. It's also got solidago. It's got my beautiful Don Juan rose, which is just ridiculous right now. Absolutely gorgeous. So in this area, let's talk about what's in here. Okay, so we're going to be doing a little bit of clearing out. These are a couple of Dutch iris bulbs from future winters past. We're going to pull those up. This is also from, I had some sunflowers, some Maximilian sunflowers. That's what that is. We're going to pull that up as well. These are some old Rebecca or Black-Eyed Susan. I'm going to leave those for now. This guy right here is a larkspur seedling. These right here are Dara, and let me get my gloves. So this is a Dara seedling. I'll pull those up. I've got plenty over this side. We don't have to have them right here right now. This is just weeds right here. This is a Bells of Ireland that I had a whole bunch of them here and they all died in the frost, so I pulled them. I think this is wild carrots. I'm pulling that up too. This is additional Bells of Ireland right there. And then some other seedling that most likely are a bunch of different varieties of basil. So I actually treated this area when I planted it up with the Bells of Ireland. And I also had Clarkia. What did I have? Godetia. I had Godetia up here, which was doing really, really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work from the back forward. Now I have some seedlings over here that are Buplurum, so we're not going to mess too much in this particular area right here. And I kind of feel like I see some other Bells of Ireland that are trying to come up, which would be amazing. Here's another one. We'll see what happens there. Now I'm going to start by charging the soil with plant tone fertilizer. And my goal for this space is really to have it filled in pretty tightly and to put some things in here that will either reseed themselves each year or things that are perennial. So we're going to start by putting up a variety of basil in the back here. So I've got a few varieties that I started this year. Basil dark opal, basil mammoth, basil cinnamon, and Siam Queen. I'm going to start with the Mammoth at the back. And I started all these little seedlings. They are more than ready to get out of here. And typically you would pinch them to make them bushier. I'm not really worried about that at this point in time. I'm more worried about these coming to fruition and flowering so that they will drop seeds in this area so that I will have basil for years to come. So I might not harvest a lot of this basil this year with the intention of it, you know, filling in the space for the future. So I'm just going to go ahead and start working back here, tucking in some seedlings. We are expecting a big rainstorm coming through later today, which would be amazing. I love to plant right before a rainstorm. Now you can direct seed basil if you like. I'm a control freak, so I tend to start most of my stuff inside, which I prefer, but you certainly don't have to do that. Okay, so Mammoth Basil is really known for its really kind of giant leaves. They're also called lettuce basil, and it's excellent, of course, for pestos and basil salads. But I use a lot of my basil for actual cut flower arrangements, which I absolutely love. Now, Mammoth Basil can be used fresh or dried. It is grown as an annual in most zones, but is considered hardy in zones 10 through 12. It does require full sun, and its mature height is about 20 inches tall. Okay, and I've got these pretty tightly packed, which I think will be good. I mean, the goal is I don't like to see a lot of soil, and my soil will have better water retention if it's not getting blasted by the sun, if it's like shaded by the plants above it. So there we've got all the Mammoth basil planted. Next, let's go ahead and go in with the dark opal. Okay, so next on the list is the dark opal basil, and it's such an unusual thing to use in flower arrangements. Just this beautiful deep purple color, deep violet foliage to accent your floral designs, but also it can be used as a culinary herb as well, but looks really great in the landscape too. It needs minimum 8 to 12 hours of sun. Ideal temp is about 70 to 85 degrees, but basil still does really good for me even in the hottest times of the year. Typically for me, the basil ends up being about 14 to 16 inches tall. It doesn't get as tall as some other ones, but definitely still long enough to utilize for cut flower arrangements. All right, and next I'm going to layer in the cinnamon basil. I'm planting these all about 4 to 6 inches apart. Okay, next is cinnamon basil, and this is hands down one of my favorites. I love the bright green leaves. The stems tend to be kind of a purple brown color, which is amazing. And of course, it smells like cinnamon. I mean, it is absolutely fabulous. It blooms kind of lavender purple colors, which I think are absolutely beautiful to use in arrangements. And of course, you can harvest it prior to the blooming and just use it for the foliage, but I definitely love to use it for the flowers as well. It's typically about 26 to 30 inches tall. I do feel like it's a little bit more slim pickings on the leaves. It's not as full as something like the dark opal basil, but it definitely requires full sun. Okay, and then the last variety is Siam Queen. And this is the one that gives me the really big, beautiful purple flowers. Now, if you're really wanting something fun to grow, Siam Queen is just amazing. It grows these beautiful bursts of just clusters of purple flowers at the top. They're about like 4 inches long, a couple of inches wide, absolutely beautiful, very unique and different. The plant really smells like licorice, which is kind of cool as well. And I do think the leaves are really pretty, but you really grow this more for the flowers than for the leaves, in my personal opinion. You can also utilize this for culinary stuff, but it does definitely taste like licorice, so it's something to remember. This blooms early summer into late summer. It's more of an upright habit, about 30 inches tall by 24 inches wide, and it needs full sun as well. Okay, that's all filling in real nicely. So this next portion, I'm going to work in some sweet Dianthus white, and sweet Dianthus black cherry, and sweet Dianthus bicolor purple white, which are all perennials in my area. And I'm gonna tuck them back into here a little bit. Got some weeds back here. I'm gonna tuck them back into this iris a little bit, but I'm gonna work them all the way across the front here. And we'll go ahead and start with the sweet Dianthus purple white bicolor. Okay, so this is my second year growing the sweet Dianthus bicolor purple and white, and I'm obsessed with it. I want to grow tons and tons of this. The clusters are about 2 to 5 inch flower clusters, single petaled plum and white bicolored blooms on them, and the stems tend to be pretty long. I feel like they're going to get longer as the plant matures. Right now I think they're hitting about the 14-inch range, but they're definitely get more up to the 36 inch range as the plant is, kind of gets older over time. It is a tender perennial in zones 6 through 8 and does prefer full sun. Okay, next I'm going to switch over to the sweet white. Now, I don't actually grow a lot of white flowers. This is actually one of the few that I grow, and I really like it for its kind of petite habit. Once again, it's kind of that ball-shaped cluster of flowers, about 2 to 5 inches wide, all pure white. I would definitely say it's not like a yellow white. Tends to have long stems. This one can definitely grow up to 18 to 36 inches, but just like the other Dianthus, it's kind of shorter for now. As it becomes older, it should get kind of a longer length on it. Okay, and then finally I'm going to work amongst this area. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out a lot of the weeds that I see in here and some of that green dragon cress that's all under here. Now, all of these Dianthus seeds came from Johnny's Selected Seeds. They have a ton of varieties. You can also just get a mix, which is kind of fun, and I've thought about doing that as well. But basically, this is the same idea as the other two, but it has a kind of a deep red velvet color, almost black sometimes on the blooms, which I think is very, very cool. This one is also a tender perennial in zones 6 through 8. I mean, I felt like mine was pretty hardy, and I left mine in containers, so they weren't in the actual garden ground. So y'all know that containers get much colder than the actual garden ground, and mine did great and definitely are double the size that they were last year. So I'm just really excited to put in a ton more of these blooms across this whole front. Of course, this needs full sun, and it gets up to 36 inches tall. Okay, that looks really good. That looks really filled in. The front portion will be all perennials. We'll fill in all that space. The back portion should reseed itself, which is great. Now, I do have 4 baby blue eucalyptus that I want to get planted. So I'm going to get them tucked in towards the front of the bed over here. And I grew these from seed. They were super easy to grow from seed. I was surprised. Thought it was going to be a lot harder. And I have heard that when we have a mild winter that these will come back. Okay, so this is my first year growing eucalyptus, having it from seed. It did way better than I thought it would, so I'm really excited. There's 4 plants here, but I have a ton more. And it's kind of, eucalyptus is considered an evergreen. It has a really strong scent. Absolutely beautiful for cut flower arrangements. It definitely needs well-draining soil, so I'm not sure how great it's going to do in this particular area. It is hardy in zones 8 through 11, but can be grown all the way to zone 3, and it needs full, strong sun. Then finally, I have some Dianthus blue lace flower. I started 12 seedlings and only got 3 to germinate, but it's my understanding that these can reseed themselves, which would be amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 3 little seedlings And I always just dump out my extra soil like that. Spread that around. I'm going to take these 3 little seedlings and I'm going to tuck them in among the basil so that if they do decide to reseed themselves, that potentially I'll have some blue lace flower next year. Okay, and then these blue lace flowers, I'm really excited to actually even be able to have these 3 little seedlings. I'm excited to grow them. They're going to be kind of taller, about 2 to 3 feet tall, require full sun. I don't know a ton about them since they are new to me this year. Okay, and even though it's going to rain, I'm still going to water these all in. And I basically just like to come to the base of each seedling and add water. Now, if you're not expecting rain, you do want to come out here on a daily basis and check these seedlings while they're getting used to the space and water them as needed. Okay, let's take a close-up. So these are the baby blue eucalyptus. Those are the blue lace flower Dianthus. Across the front, all of these are the varieties of sweet Dianthus. Then we have the Siam Queen basil. Next we have cinnamon basil, dark opal basil, and then mammoth basil at the back. It's a lot in there. Over there are all my bupleurum seedlings, seeds coming up. It looks really, really good. I'm excited. I'd like to install more perennials in this area, but I'm not really sure what, so that's going to be at a later point in time. Let's all take a moment to appreciate. Wow. These are gorgeous. I think I'm going to cut some of these and bring them in for my daughter. Let me cut some of these for her. When I'm cutting roses, if I'm cutting for them to come again, I try to cut above a set of 5 leaves, A lot of their leaves will have either like a set of 5 or a set of 3, and I try to cut above a set of 5. And typically when you do that, it will give you another round of blooms. And let's grab this guy. All right. Okay, those smell amazing. I'll take those into her. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. We are going to be planting a lot. Right now, the goal is just to get everything out in the garden because we are into April. We got to get it into the garden, get it growing. We will start having 90+ degree weather in May, and we'll hit the 100s by June. So everything needs to get in the garden to establish a really great root system prior to the hot weather coming through. So that's super important if you're in an area like mine. So I'm really excited to see everything starting to come to fruition, which is awesome. All right, you all, let me know what seedlings you're planting outside. Oh, somebody's alarm went off. Let me know what seedlings you're planting up in your garden, or if you're in a colder zone, what seedlings you're starting for cut flowers inside. And keep me updated on what's going on with your gardens. I'm always really interested to see what everybody else is doing, just because it's nice to compare and contrast. As always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Every time you like and comment, it helps grow my channel so much. And be sure to check me out on my social media outlets, including Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. As always, she's a mad gardener or decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.